Hello, everyone, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in this great wide world you may be watching me from. You're welcome to Health Talks with Dr. Okpe. My name is Dr. Okpe Akirele, a family medicine practitioner, and I'm going to be talking to you today as a continuation of my series on abortion. I've made a few posts, over the last few weeks on abortion. Please kindly check them out and comment on them. Now, I'm going to be talking to you about the ABC of reproductive health. Why am I talking about the ABC of reproductive health? Because it also overlaps with abortion or preventing abortion or preventing unsafe abortions. Now, the ABC of reproductive health is something that used to be very well sounded in the ears, of the youth a few decades ago. But surprisingly speaking, it seems as though this anthem or mantra or this admonition has waned and gradually dropped out from the language and the communication of many reproductive service providers, and I wonder why. I really wonder why, but I'm here to reintroduce you to the ABC of reproductive health. And without further ado, let's start with A. A is for abstain. Abstain in its strict sense means abstain from sexual intercourse. Simple. Abstain from sexual intercourse. Now, of course, there are dynamics to this for those who are in a marital relationship, one, and for those who are not. There are dynamics to this for those who are seeking to conceive. Of course, if you're seeking to conceive, why would you want to abstain? If you're in a marital relationship, why would you want to abstain per se? So in most cases, we are looking at premarital sex or extramarital sex or what other words? I think that's basically say. So abstain. Of course, now I'm not preaching premarital sex. I'm not saying that premarital sex is a do or a don't do. What I'm saying is that one way to prevent yourself from contracting STIs and unwanted pregnancy is not to even have sex in the first instance. That's one. Second is be faithful. That's B. B for be faithful. Be faithful. Be faithful. That means a monogamous relationship. Avoid multiple sexual partners. Be faithful to someone who is faithful, I might add, because one party may be faithful whereas the other party is not faithful. Of course, we know human beings are dynamic creatures and habits or attitudes are not always controllable by other parties. So in this scenario, be faithful, have one sexual partner. That reduces the risks of having STIs. Of course, it doesn't reduce the risk of having a pregnancy. And which now we go to the third and the fourth alphabets, which is C. C is condom. Correct and consistent use of a condom. And a condom, as one of my friends would say, is a multi-purpose prevention tool. Right? A condom prevents pregnancy. A condom is one of the few tools that will prevent transmission of STIs. So a condom does a whole lot of work. But the reason why we have a high failure rate for condoms is because of the incorrect and inconsistent use of a condom. Many people are in environments where when the decision to engage in intercourse, number one, is not pre-planned. That's one. Number two, comes basically in essence not pre-planned, and then there's no time to put into place necessary measures to prevent STIs or pregnancies. And so now environment, we're going to get there, but the third alphabet is C, which is condom. Correct and consistent use of a condom. Now the fourth alphabet is D, drugs. Right? There are medications, there are drugs that can reduce the risk of STI and also prevent unwanted pregnancy. Such drugs include contraceptives like the daily pills, and other forms of contraceptives like the injectables and the implants, and of course the intrauterine contraceptive device. Now, before I go on to the fifth alphabet, I want to tell you that I'm speaking generally, either for married couples or unmarried couples. I'm speaking in general, either for couples desiring kids or for so-called couples who are not even thinking of, for individuals who are not even thinking of having kids at all. I'm speaking generally, they are drugs. Whichever way you look at it, they are drugs. In whatever stage of life you may be, they are drugs to reduce the risk of STI and also pregnancy, to prevent pregnancy. Now, the fifth alphabet I want to talk about is environment. Before I talk about environment, I mentioned about those who are married and those who are not married, because you have instances where people who are married are also considering an abortion for various reasons, either unreadiness, lack of planning, financial situations, and whatsoever other personal reasons, and they will be considering an abortion. And in my last video, I told you what I spoke with one of my, esteemed patients whose identity I've maintained secret. What I told her when she was considering an abortion that made her keep the pregnancy and have a bouncing baby, and she has a fulfilled life. And surprisingly speaking, just a few days ago, well, I told her the risk of abortion, and those risks are real. Every single one of those risks that I mentioned is real. So I've mentioned A, abstain; B, be faithful; C, correct and consistent use of a condom; D, drugs are available; E is environment. Now, avoid risky environments in which you could be tempted, environments in which things could happen and go out of control, environments in which chemical sex can go on, environment in which unprotected sex can go on, environment in which rape can go on, environment in which other things can happen. Avoid such environments, either in group parties, fraternity parties, sorority parties, etc., etc., etc. That's E for environment, right? Avoid risky environment. F is the friends you keep. Because your friends and your acquaintances, your social support group, your peer group will either move you in a particular direction, will either move you towards the risk of unprotected sex with the risk of STIs and abortions, or towards a more controlled and disciplined life. And these friends is something that applies to both male and both female. So here I'm going to stop my alphabet at F, and I'm going to see you on my next episode of Health Talks with Dr. Okwe. Kindly post your comments down. I really would love to hear your feedback, and do have a great day. God bless you, and bye.